This is a dialogue from Schopenhauer from Studies in Pessimism, which is an English translation of some of his later works. This is a conversation that Schopenhauer presents to us in dialogue form between Thrasymachus and Philalethes. Thrasymachus, you will recognize, of course, as the sort of brusque, obnoxious, combative character from Plato's Republic who rudely challenges Socrates to prove the advantageousness of justice. So take a look at what Schopenhauer does with this particular character and his personality in this dialogue. And the other is Philalethes, the lover of forgetfulness or the lover of death. This, I think, is the character who presents the position that Schopenhauer wishes to defend about immortality, or to be more precise, about the indestructibility of the human soul after death. I hope you enjoy it. Tell me now, in one word, what shall I be after my death? And mind you be clear and precise. All and nothing. I thought so. I gave you a problem, and you solve it by contradiction. That's a very stale trick. Yes, but you raise transcendental questions, and you expect me to answer them in language that is only made for immanent knowledge. It's no wonder that a contradiction ensues. What do you mean by transcendental questions and immanent knowledge? I've heard these expressions before, of course. They're not new to me. The professor was fond of using them, but only as predicates of the deity, and he never talked of anything else, which was quite all right and proper. He argued thus: if the deity was the world itself, he was immanent, and if he was somewhere outside it, he was transcendent. Nothing could be clearer and more obvious. You knew where you were. But this Kantian rigmarole won't do any more. It's antiquated and no longer applicable to modern ideas. Why, we've had a whole row of eminent men in the metropolis of German learning. German humbug, he means. The mighty Schleiermacher, for instance, and that gigantic intellect Hegel. And at this time of day, we've abandoned all that nonsense. I should rather say we're so far beyond it that we can't put up with it anymore. What's the use of it then? What does it all mean? Transcendental knowledge is knowledge which passes beyond the bounds of possible experience and strives to determine the nature of things as they are in themselves. Immanent knowledge, on the other hand, is knowledge which confines itself entirely within those bounds, so that it cannot apply to anything but actual phenomena. As far as you are an individual, death will be the end of you. But your individuality is not your true and inmost being. It is only the outward manifestation of it. It is not the thing in itself, but only the phenomenon presented in the form of time, and therefore with a beginning and an end. But your real being knows neither time, nor beginning, nor end, nor yet the limits of any given individual. It is everywhere present in every individual, and no individual can exist apart from it. So when death comes, on the one hand, you are annihilated as an individual, on the other, you are and remain everything. And that is what I meant when I said that after your death you will be all and nothing. It's difficult to find a more precise answer to your question and at the same time be brief. The answer is contradictory, I admit, but it is so simply because your life is in time, and the immortal part of you in eternity. You may put the matter thus: your immortal part is something that does not last in time, and yet is indestructible. But there you have another contradiction. You see what happens by trying to bring the transcendental within the limits of immanent knowledge. It is in some sort doing violence to the latter by misusing it for ends it was never meant to serve. Look here, I shan't give tuppence for your immortality unless I'm to remain an individual. Well, perhaps I may be able to satisfy you on this point. Suppose I guarantee that after death you shall remain an individual, but only on condition that you first spend 3 months of complete unconsciousness. I shall have no objection to that. But remember, if people are completely unconscious, they take no account of time. So when you are dead, it's all the same to you whether 3 months pass in the world of consciousness or 10,000 years. In the one case, as in the other, it is simply a matter of believing what is told you when you awake. So far, then, you can afford to be indifferent whether it is 3 months or 10,000 years that pass before you recover your individuality. Yes, if it comes to that, I suppose you're right. And if by chance, after those 10,000 years have gone by, no one ever thinks of awakening you, I fancy it would be no great misfortune. You would have become quite accustomed to non existence after so long a spell of it, following upon such a very few years of life. At any rate, you may be sure that you would be perfectly ignorant of the whole thing. Further, if you knew that the mysterious power which keeps you in your present state of life had never once ceased in those 10,000 years to bring forth other phenomena like yourself and to endow them with life, it would fully console you. Indeed. So you think you're quietly going to do me out of my individuality with all this fine talk. But I'm up to your tricks. I tell you, I won't exist unless I have my individuality. I'm not going to be put off with mysterious powers and what you call phenomena. I can't do without my individuality, and I won't give it up. You mean, I suppose, that your individuality is such a delightful thing, so splendid, so perfect and beyond compare, that you can't imagine anything better. Aren't you ready to exchange your present state for one which, if we can judge by what is told us, may possibly be superior and more endurable? Don't you see that my individuality, be it what it may, is my very self? To me, it is the most important thing in the world. For God is God and I am I. I want to exist. I. That's the main thing. I don't care about an existence which has to be proved to be mine before I can believe it. Think what you're doing. When you say, I want to exist, it is not you alone that says this. Everything says it. Absolutely everything that has the faintest trace of consciousness. It follows then that this desire of yours is just the part of you that is not individual, the part that is common to all things without distinction. It is the cry not of the individual, but of existence itself. It is the intrinsic element in everything that exists. Nay, it is the cause of anything existing at all. This desire craves for, and so is satisfied with, nothing less than existence in general, not any definite individual existence. No, that is not its aim. It seems to be so only because this desire, this will, attains consciousness only in the individual, and therefore looks as though it were concerned with nothing but the individual. But there lies the illusion. An illusion, it is true, in which the individual is held fast, but if he reflects, he can break the fetters and set himself free. It is only indirectly, I say, that the individual has this violent craving for existence. It is the will to live which is the real and direct aspirant, alike and identical in all things. Since then existence is the free work, nay, the mere reflection of the will, where existence is, there too must be will. And for the moment the will finds itself in existence itself, so far I mean as that which never rests, but presses forward eternally, can ever find any satisfaction at all. The will is careless of the individual. The individual is not its business, although, as I've said, this seems to be the case, because the individual has no direct consciousness of will except in himself. The effect of this is to make the individual careful to maintain his own existence. And if this were not so, there would be no surety for the preservation of the species. From all this, it is clear that individuality is not a form of perfection, but rather of limitation. And so to be freed from it is not loss, but gain. Trouble yourself no more about the matter. Once thoroughly recognize what you are and what your existence really is, namely, the universal will to live, and the whole question will seem to you childish and most ridiculous. You're childish yourself and most ridiculous, like all philosophers. And if a man of my age lets himself in for a quarter of an hour's talk with such fools, it is only because it amuses me and passes the time. I've more important business to attend to. So, goodbye.